Cosmo students. Today we're going to be doing chapter 18, Braiding and Braid Extensions from the Milady book. So our objective for today, you know the general history of braiding, recognize braiding basics and the importance of a consultation, how to prepare the hair for braiding, and explain the 6 types of braiding techniques. You'll also be able to demonstrate the procedure for cornrowing, techniques for textured sets and styles, and the procedure for starting locks and lock grooming. Braiding is an art form and it can require an enormous investment of time, with some elaborate styles taking up to almost an entire day to complete. I've seen that happen and I've experienced it myself. Braiding salons have sprung up in many areas in the United States, and these salons practice what is commonly known as natural hairstyling. You can also get a natural hairstyling license as well. That is a thing, which uses no chemicals or dyes and does not alter the natural curl or coil pattern of the hair. So just a little backstory about braiding and where it started from. It originated in Africa and it widespread today in hair braiding, and it has always played a significant role in grooming and beauty practices. In some African tribes, the statement made by a person's braid style went beyond mere appearance or fashion. Different styles of braiding signified a person's social status and the community. Understanding the basics of braiding. Braiding and textured hairstyling consultations, hair and scalp analysis, which you will perform as well when you're doing braids, or any kind of weaving service or natural hairstyling service, you'll still perform a hair and scalp analysis. You determine the texture, the elasticity, and the porosity before you start braiding the hair to see if the hair is strong enough to be able to hold the hairstyle or sustain the hairstyle. Style determination and product recommendations. Your hair and scalp analysis. You have diameter of hair, the feel, the texture determination, the density, the condition of the hair, and the length of the hair. When it comes to the diameter of the hair, is the hair coarse, medium, or fine? When it comes to the feel of the hair, does the hair feel oily, dry, hard, soft, smooth, coarse, or wiry? The texture determination is established by the wave pattern or the coil pattern of the hair. Is it straight? Is it wavy, curly, or coiled? And the coil is very tight. It's a very tight curl. It is like a spiral. That's what a coil looks like. And when you stretch it out, it gets longer. So it has shrinkage when the hair is really coily. And it can resemble a series of loops. And so when we're in this chapter, when we're referring to textured hair, it refers to hair that is tight, that has a tight coil pattern. Then we have density. You want to look for the areas where the hair is thin. Some people have areas in their hair that is thinner than others. I know me personally, around my edges area, it's a little thinner. So when I get braids or if I get box braids or individual braids, I have to make my hairline area thicker so that it can hold the weight of the braid so it doesn't pull my hair out. You also want to check for the condition of the hair. You want to check for any damage, any breakage from any previous braids or chemical services, and you want to check the hairline for traction alopecia, which is caused by excessive pulling or tight extension braids or tightly sewn and braid and weaves. That can happen if the client has gotten multiple braiding styles, or they've gotten their hair pulled back too tight, or they have had a weave sewn on too tight. It can pull your edges. Your edges are really sensitive, so just be careful when you are braiding someone's hair around their edges. You also want to check for the length. You want to make sure that the hair You want to make sure the hair is physically long enough to execute the braiding style. With this one, it depends on the stylist, in my personal opinion, because you have some stylists who can grip really short hair and manage to give a client a braid style or a weave or cornrows or individual braids. So that one is determined by the stylist on what they can do and what they can grip and what they can braid when it comes to the length of the client's hair. Style determination. Once you have done your hair and your scalp analysis, and that's done, you have to determine what braid style you're going to do for the client and their lifestyle, what best fits for them and works for them and their hair texture. You want to point out different braid hairstyles that interest the client, or the client will show you what they want, no matter what it is, and then you'll go from there, and you have to make the decision if it's right for that client and if it will help with the health of that client's hair. Product recommendations. You want to include instructions and products that the client can use at home to take care of their hair, to make sure it doesn't get dried out too fast, to make sure their scalp stays good, or if they need to come in and do a scalp treatment, and on the in-between, you can wash hair while it's in braids. You can also wash hair when you have a weave in it. So you want to be able to recommend products for that client based off their hair texture, the condition of their hair. If they need to keep it moisturized on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, you want to be able to recommend products for a client, even when they're getting a braid or a weave service. It doesn't matter. Then you want to check the condition of the scalp to ensure that it is healthy and properly cared for. Some people, when they get braids and weaves, they tend to not put oil on their scalp or moisturize their scalp. So you want to make sure that in between their braiding services, or when they're taking their braids out and getting new braids, you want to make sure you're taking care of that scalp and making sure that it's good. Then you want to check the porosity of the hair. When you're testing the porosity and elasticity of the hair, that is important when you're determining the strength of the hair and the density You want to perform a strand test and select several sections of hair strands to test for the porosity and elasticity of textured hair. When you're testing for the porosity level, you want to take a small section of the hair, mostly at the top, like the crown area of the head, and you want to hold the hair at the root, and at the tip of the hair strand, you want to slide the hair down 2 to 3 times slowly and check the porosity of the hair. When it comes to elasticity, when you're checking for that, you want to take another section of hair at the crown and other several sections of the head, and you want to hold the hair in both hands, and using your fingers on the top and bottom of the hair strand, you want to stretch that hair back and forth, kind of like if you were pulling a string, and you want to check for the elasticity to see if it kind of bounces back. Tools for braiding hair. You have board bristle brushes, which are your natural hair brushes. You have your square paddle brushes. You have a vent brush. You have a wide tooth comb. You have a double tooth comb, a locking twist comb, a tail comb, a finishing comb, cutting comb. You also have a pick with rounded teeth, your blow dryer with comb nozzle attachment. I love those things. They save so much time. You have a diffuser. You have 5-inch scissors, long clips, butterfly and small clips. You have a hood dryer, a steamer, small rubber bands, clear elastic bands or strings. There's a lot of tools when you're braiding some hair. So when it comes to braiding and the tools that you're using for braiding, an artist is only as good as the tools that they're using and how they're applying and cutting. Just as equally as important as when you're cutting hair, coloring hair, or creating natural hairstyles. So your board bristle brush, which is your natural brush, it helps you stimulate the scalp. And then you have your square paddle brush. Your square paddle brush is good for releasing any tangles or knots in the hair, also in short hair, textured, and in long hair, straight hair. A square paddle brush is good for, it's a universal brush. It's good for any type of hair. Then you have your vent brush, which is here. Your vent brush, it has single or double row of widely spaced pins with protective tips to prevent tearing and breaking the hair. They are usually used to remove tangles on wet hair. So it's like your wet brush or detangling brush. That's what a vent brush is. Then you have a wide tooth comb. Your wide tooth comes in a variety of shapes and designs. Mine that I have is really big. It's kind of like overly sized big, but I like it. I don't like the smaller wide tooth comb. It helps you glide through the hair with little pulling, and it helps get some of those tangles out. The teeth, they range in width from medium to large. And with most wide tooth combs, the tips of them are rounded to avoid scratching the scalp. And the distance between the teeth is important on a wide tooth comb, because it allows textured hair to move between the rows of the teeth with ease. So when you have curly hair or someone with thicker hair, this wide tooth comb will be a good comb to use for them. You have a double tooth comb, which also can be your detangling comb. This tool separates the hair as it combs, and it makes it an excellent detangling comb for wet curly hair. Then you have your locking twisting comb, or your barber taper comb. You can use this for cutting hair. I typically use it for when I'm cutting men's hair and I want to get close and blend out that line, or when I'm doing coils or comb twisting hair with the comb. I like to use this comb because it allows you to have a lot of grip with this comb. It's like a 2-in-1 kind of comb. They call it a number 55, which is also considered your barber comb. And one side of it is smaller and angled, and one side is large width on the other end. It also helps with texture hair to lock and coil easily. And then also different sizes from medium to large as well. Then you have your tail comb. Your tail comb, rat tail comb, is this comb right here. This one is good for parting, sectioning large segments of hair, and opening and removing braids. I love this comb for when I'm parting hair. It just makes it easier, especially with the pointy end. It helps you glide, get the hair inside the hair and section off that hair and makes it a straight line. And then you have your finishing comb. Your finishing comb is this one. It's a 3-in-1. It's usually about 8 to 10 inches in length, and your finishing combs are used while cutting. Oh, sorry. I looked at the wrong one. My bad. This is your finishing comb. Is used while cutting, and they work good on fine hair or straight hair. Your cutting comb, which is this one. Your cutting comb, also, just a little hint or a little tip on your cutting combs, it has numbers. So on this part of the cutting comb, it has numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are inches. So it's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inches. So if a client is scared to get 2 inches cut off, or they say 1 inch is too much hair, you can show them what truly 1 inch is from your comb, and you can measure it. So that's a little good hint and a little tip that you should know about your cutting comb. And it's used for cutting small sections, and it should be used only after the hair is softened and elongated with the blow dryer. Then you have your pick with rounded teeth. This is your pick. This comb is used for lifting and separating textured hair. So if you have someone who's natural and they do like a twist out or a braid out, then so when you have the pick, you can use it to fluff up hair, make it a little bit, give it some lift and some volume at the root area. You can use the pick to do that. They come metal, they come plastic, or they come wood. And the teeth are widely spread on the pick combs. Then let's get into your blow dryers. You have your blow dryer with the comb nozzle attachment. So this is your blow dryer, and here's the comb nozzle attachment. The comb nozzle, it loosens the curl pattern in textured hair when you're doing braiding hairstyles, and it dries and stretches the hair at the same time, as well as softens textured hair. I use this when I'm doing blowouts on my textured clients. It gets it all done at one time, and you don't have to do 5,000 different things to get the hair straight before you do the service, before you do like the flat iron service or the braiding service. These ones, They are hard plastic comb because if you use metal, it will get too hot, and you don't want that because it will burn the client's hair, and we don't want to have to deal with that. Then you have a diffuser attachment. This dries the hair without disturbing the curl pattern and finishes the look without dehydrating the hair. This is your diffuser. This circular attachment. And then we have our 5-inch scissors. This is for creating shapes and finishing the looks, and for trimming bangs or fringes, which is the same thing, and excess extension material. So if you have little hairs that pop out when you're braiding the hair, you use the scissors and you go glide it along the braid and snip the excess hair off the braid to have a cleaner look. And then we have our long clips, which are these long clips right here. Those are used for separating hair into large sections. And we have our butterfly clips, which are butterfly and small clips. And these clips can also be used to separate hair into large sections as well. And we have our hood dryer. Your hood dryer is used to remove excess moisture before you're blow drying the hair completely. Let me re-say that whole sentence. Your hood dryer is used to remove excess moisture before blow drying hair completely, dry, finish braiding, or locked and texture styles. Then we have a steamer. Your steamer is used to deeply hydrate, moisturize, condition the hair with water vapor. I want one of these so bad for my clients at my shop, and I can't wait to get one. It gives you more moisture to the hair, and without you having to put a lot of moisturizing products in there, the steam, it infuses the water hydration, and it opens the cuticle layer of the hair, and it allows it to be nourished, and the protein conditioners to get in there, and the botanical oils to penetrate deeply into the cortex layer of the hair with the steamer, because it's opening up the cuticle so much, it's allowing everything to penetrate that. It's allowing everything to penetrate that cuticle layer of hair. And then you have small rubber bands or clear plastic ones. These help secure the ends of any braid style, any twist style. If you're doing a lock style, like a 2-strand twist on locks, you can use rubber bands to secure it. They come in different colors. They come in brown, they come in black, they come clear, they come colorful like orange, red, green, yellow. They come in a lot of colors. Some are better than others. The implements that you will need or materials you need for extensions, you have extension fibers, hackle, and a drawing board. Let's get into what hackle means. A hackle is a board of fine upright nails through which human hair extensions are combed, and they are used for detangling or blending colors and highlights. Extension fibers, these come in conicolon, nylon, rayon, human hair, yarn, lin, and yak or yaki hair. If you've ever been to a beauty supply store, you've seen all these versions of hair at a beauty supply store, and they come in different colors like blue, green, yellow, purple, pink, gray. You have black, you have brown, you have blonde, they have ombre, they have 3 colors on one hair, on one pack, white, a whole bunch of different colors to play around with. Then you have a drawing board. Your drawing boards are flat leather pads with very close fine teeth that sandwich human hair extensions. These pads are weighed down with books, allowing a specific amount of hair to be extracted without loosening and disturbing the rest of the hair during the process of braiding. And this is what these ones are. your ones that can be beaded based off the way these ones look on the tips up here. And these are typically the human hair, but you can also get it in color. And human hair is the gold standard for hair extensions. But unfortunately, the human hair market can be a bit confusing and it's sometimes deceptive. Sometimes you can have human hair that's not truly human hair. It's a human hair blend and it's not all the way human hair. And once you put some heat on there, it's gonna either melt or it's going to start to look nasty. So you just have to watch out when it comes to human hair. You have caniculon hair, which is manufactured synthetic fibers of good quality. That's the best quality of synthetic hair out there. And it's made with a variety of types and has different names, colors, and textures. Like how I explained earlier, it comes in a whole bunch of different colors. And a lot of places you like hair salon, like beauty supply stores, or even Sally's, you can find caniculon hair. You have nylon or rayon synthetic hair. This one is less expensive than many of the other synthetic hairs, and it's also available in a variety of qualities. This nylon hair reflects light and leaves the hair very shiny. But a negative of nylon hair is that both of the fibers have been known to cut or break the surrounding natural hair. And this is very true. Even when you're braiding hair with nylon hair, it can even cut your own fingers. I can't tell you how many times I've cut my fingers braiding hair with this type of hair. So I always suggest clients to get caniculon hair if they can. But if they can't, when you're braiding a client's hair with nylon hair, it's good to have it like moisturized or using like a braid gel on your fingers so that you can protect your fingers from getting cut, and also put some on the client's human hair so that it can protect their hair also from it breaking from this type of hair. Then we have yarn hair. Yarn hair, typically you use it to make sweaters and hats, but you can also put it in hair. I haven't seen no one use yarn in a really long time. The last time I've seen someone use yarn, I believe I was in high school, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, so I haven't seen no one use it in a while, but I have seen someone use yarn in hair. It's very cheap and it's easy to find. You can find it at Walmart. It's light, soft, and it detangles easily, and it comes in a lot of different colors, but it does not reflect light and it gives the braid a matte finish. But when you wet yarn, it can expand, but it won't slip from the base. So it's very durable when you're using it for braids. You have lin. This is a wool. It's very beautiful. It's fiber and it's imported from Africa, and it has a matte finish and comes only in black and brown. It doesn't come in any other colors. It comes on a roll and it can be used in any length and size, but you want to keep in mind that it is a cotton-like fabric and it is very flammable. So just be aware if you're going to use this type of hair and stay away from the flames. Then you have yak, or I call it yaki. Yaki is strong fiber and it comes from the domestic ox, which is found in the mountains of Tibet and Central Asia. Yaki hair is shaved and it's processed and used alone or blended with human hair. So this is where I said watch out for human hair, because you can have some human hair that is blended, and that is what I meant by blended human hair. They blend it with yak hair, which also helps the manufacturers with the shine when they have yaki hair. Blending it with human hair, it gives it a shine. When you're preparing the hair for braiding, doing braids, it's best to do it with dry hair. Shrinkage as hair dries can cause breakage. So if you want to allow for shrinkage when braiding, you want to do it when it's wet. You also want to apply a leave-in conditioner to make combing the hair easier. And you want to begin combing at the ends of the hair strand and gently work out the tangles while moving upward towards the scalp, and use a wide tooth comb or detangling comb for this. Then when you're braiding the hair, you can use wax, a pomade, paste, lotions, braid gels, jam. You can use shine jam, I believe it is. I use a braid gel when I'm braiding hair. It holds the hair in place and it allows it to look more finished once you're done. And you brush the hair with a large powder brush, and you begin at the ends of the hair, just as you did with the comb. So why they say begin brushing or combing at the ends of the hair, because you're able to comb out the tangles as you go, opposed to starting at the top and trying to brush through all those tangles. It's just going to snag and it's going to hurt your client, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. So before you begin to do all the steps that I just said or use all the tools that I just said, you want to make sure the client's hair is clean, whether you shampoo it first or they shampooed it before they came in, but you want to make sure the hair is clean. Do not braid a client's hair or put a weave in someone's hair and it's dirty, because typically when people get braids, weaves, twists, locks, it's a protective style, so they're not touching their hair. So you want to make sure it's clean so that it can last longer and stay clean without starting off dirty and just getting more dirty. That's just nasty and it won't look good. When you're blow drying the hair, blow drying the hair makes the hair dry quickly. It also softens the hair, loosens and elongates a wave pattern, and it aids the manipulation process. Let's get into braids. Braiding the hair, you have several different types of braids. You have a visible braid, you have an invisible braid, you have the rope braids, fishtail braids, halo braids, single braids, braids with extensions, cornrows with extensions, and you have tree braids. Let's go back to the beginning. So an invisible braid is a 3-strand braid that is created with an underhand technique. So when I say visible braid, instead of the braid being on top of the hair, the braid is underneath the hair and all it is flatter. That's a visible braid. It's underneath. It's going with the underhand technique. So the braid is underneath. An underhand technique, also known as plaiting, is one which is left in sections and goes under the middle strand. Then the right section goes under the middle strand, and that's just the underhand technique. Your invisible braid, also known as your inverted braid or French braid, is a 3-strand braid that is produced with an overhand technique. So I know it sounds a little confusing. Your visible braid is underneath, and your invisible braid is done overhand. And we have our rope braid. Your rope braid is created with 2 strands that are twisted around each other, and the braid can be done on hair that is all one length or on long layered hair. You want to remember to pick up and add hair to both sides before you twist the right side over the left. And this is your rope braid right here. Let's go back. It won't let me. This is your rope braid. And this is your fishtail braid. And this is your halo braid. Your fishtail braid is simple. It's 2-strand. It's a 2-strand braid in which the hair is picked up from the sides and added to the strands. And as they are crossed over each other, like here, right there. And it is best done on layered hair that is at least shoulder length. But you can also do it on short hair. It just you won't get as much of a fishtail right here. Then you have your halo braid. Your halo braid, there are 2 or 3 long, simple, inverted, thick cornrows created around the head. So the braid goes all the way around the head, which is considered your halo braid. The extended long braids are then wrapped around the head and pinned. So some people do 2 braids, like split the hair down into 2, or don't even section it into 2, just kind of section it a little bit so you have two separate sections, and you braid one section, one braid, individual braid here, another individual braid on the other side, and you wrap one in one direction and you wrap the other in the other direction, and you pin it together, and you can get a halo braid that way. There's multiple ways to do it when you're doing a halo braid. The top of your crown is left smooth and neat, while the cornrows are pinned around the head to create the halo effect. Oops, went too fast. Your single braids are also known as your box braids or individual braids. And these are free hanging braids. This is a single braid, or also this is a single box braid right here. And we'll also get into the ones where you add hair to the single braids. They can be done without or with extensions, and can be executed using either an underhand or overhand technique. Whichever way is faster for you and more comfortable is the way that you should do it. You shouldn't complicate it and try and do something that feels uncomfortable, because you can do a single braid in either way. This is probably the easiest braid to do on a client or also on yourself. And then you can add hair to single braids. When you're adding extensions for single braids, it comes in a range of sizes and lengths and are integrated into the natural hair using a 3-strand underhand technique. The fibers for extensions can be you can select from synthetic hair, yarn, or human hair. And the selection is vital in determining the finish style. So depending on the style that the client wants will also help you determine what hair the client should have in their head. Then we have cornrows. Cornrows are also known as cane rows, are narrow rows of visible braids that lie close to the scalp and are created with 3-strand on the scalp braiding technique. These braids are connected to your scalp, like her braids are here. This is a really cute hairstyle. And it can be done with hair, with extensions, or without extensions. So you have options. And with cornrows, with extensions, you can also do a feed-in method, which has become really popular lately because it helps not put so much tension on the edges of the hair, and you're able to just feed it in along the way and start the braid with the client's natural hair, so you're not making it super tight when you're adding in the extension hair. I'm still practicing how to do these, but I'm getting there, and it's so much better on my hair. I do it on my daughter's hair. Since her hair is so soft, this helps not pull her hair, and her hair has grown a lot more from doing this method, the feed-in method. Then we have our tree braids. Tree braids is hair that is braided with an extension. The finished look shows mostly faux hair, and the process takes about 4 hours. You have 2 methods. You can tie individually strands in place about 1 inch from the scalp area, and you can add long pieces of hair to cornrows. Let me show you guys what tree braids look like, because they do not have a picture of tree braids. So this would be an example of tree braids, where you're seeing mostly the faux hair hanging out and it's just braided a little bit. This is also 2 different ways you can wear tree braids, as well as here. It's really pretty, and it's starting to come back. It's really nice. Tree braiding is a newer way to add hair for a longer look. When the client's hair is braided or cornrow braided along with the hair extensions, but the finished look shows mostly the faux hair, like I showed you in the picture. Classified texture sets and styles. With texture sets and styles, you got Bantu knots or Nubian knots, I used to do these a lot on my hair when I used to wear my hair curly and natural all the time. You have Bantu knot out styles, which are your Bantu knots, and you take them out and you wear the curls. You have a braid out set, a flat twist, glamour waves, spiral rod set. Your Bantu knot or Nubian knots is the hair that is double strand twisted or coiled, twisted, and wrapped around itself to make a knot. So with the Bantu knots, if you're doing a 2-strand twist or you're just doing a single coil, you wrap it until it starts to bend on its own, and then it will wrap around itself naturally. And you can secure with bobby pins or elastics, rubber bands. I normally do it with rubber bands, or sometimes it will stay just by locking the hair underneath the Bantu knot and just letting it sit underneath it, and it can hold that way. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, and I have to put a rubber band on it, an elastic on it. Then you have your Bantu knot out style. Your knots can be opened and released to create a wavy and fuller loose curls. I love doing a Bantu knot out style when my hair's been blown out and I've worn it for a few days and it's starting to get a little bit poofy. So I'll do a Bantu knot and it will do a nice cute wave and it looks really full and bouncy and I love it. It's really pretty. Then you have a braid out set. This involves braiding the hair when it's either wet or when it's dry, and then you're opening the braid to create a crimp texture on texture effect with adding volume. So when you're doing a braid out, you can do it wet and they can braid the hair, let it dry or put it under the dryer, or you can do it dry, let it sit and set. And then once it's done that, you could take it out and it to give you a crimped out look. It's really pretty when it's done right and when the hair cooperates, because sometimes the hair doesn't cooperate. Then you have a flat twist. Your flat twist, the hair is parted in several rows on the entire head, and each section is then divided into 2 subsections, and then you're twisting it and you're interweaving it to where it lies flat on the scalp. Your flat twist can be made in a variety of patterns with or without extensions. Doing a flat twist is really easy and really simple. And once it's been in there for a few days and you take it out, it gives a wave to the hair and it's really pretty. Then you have glamour waves. Once your hair has had a flat twist set, it is completely dry or it must be completely dry or the style will appear frizzy. That is very, very true. You have to let it dry, because if you don't, because when you start rubbing your hands through the hair to separate it and place it and style it, you're gonna make it frizzy because it's a little wet. So you wanna make sure it's completely 100% dry. The flat twist set is untwisted and opened to create a wavy texture. Then we have our coil styles. Coils or comb twists are small sections of your natural hair that are gelled and spiraled with your fingers or a comb, like the barber comb number 55, and you're creating individual formations that are tight, that will make a tight coil. Your Nubian coil comb technique is styled on natural curly hair or textured hair. And with this look, the hair is curled into a cylindrical shape with a comb or your fingers. Typically, it's a lot easier sometimes to do it with your fingers. It goes a lot faster if the hair cooperates correctly and you have enough product on it to do it with your finger. It goes a lot faster. But sometimes it's just better to do it with the comb as well, because it can stretch it some when you're doing it with the comb. Then you have your coil out. Once your hair has been coiled into individual coils and then dried 100% completely, the coils are uncoiled and neatly unraveled. This style will then make the hair fuller and it will lift up off the scalp to create a nice coily textured afro on your client. The afro was popular in 1960s and 1970s. People wore the natural hair, but it has came back within, I want to say either at minimum the last maybe more years, becoming natural and wearing afros come back, which I love. But it was mainly popular in the 1960s and 1970s, and having a pretty perfect shape, that was really popular back then. With your twist styles, you have a twist set and a twist style. Your twist styles, they're also known as double strand twist, two strand twist, and they start typically when the hair is wet, gelled, or the hair can be dry as well. Sometimes it's better just do it when it's wet because the curls will just curl together and it'll stay. You're gonna take, when you're doing a twist, a two strand twist or a twist style, you want to take the hair and separate it into two sections. So you want to do a section and then you want to do a subsection. You want to take that subsection and separate into two sections within that subsection. And then you're going to start to overlap and twist them like a rope, whether they're dry or whether it's wet. But the difference between doing it when it's dry and the difference between doing it when it's wet, when you're doing it when it's dry, you'll get that twisted rope effect. But when you're doing it when it's wet, you'll get that textured effect. So that's the difference between doing it dry and doing it wet. And that also depends on your consultation with your client of how they want it to look once they take it out. That's why consultation is very important. And I can't stress it enough. I've said it in the previous chapter, said it in chapter 16. I'll say it in every other chapter moving forward. A consultation is very important. Then we have locks. Locks are also known as dreadlocks or locks. They separate networks of curly, textured hair that have been intertwined and meshed together. It is achieved without the use of any chemicals in several slow phases, which can take from 6 months to a year, depending on the length, the density, and coil pattern of the hair. Locks for a lot of people they're also a religious thing as well. Some people get them for religious purposes, and some people get them because they just like to do them, and they're a lot easier to they're low maintenance in a way, because you don't have to get your hair done as fast. Some people still get their hair done and retwisted quicker than others, but people with locks like them because they're low maintenance and they look good. I like locks personally, but that's just me. So the different phases of locks, you have the phase 1, which is your beginner locks. You have phase 2, which is your pre-lock stage. You have phase 3, which is your sprouting stage, and you have phase 4, which is your growing stage, and phase 5, which is this is a tongue twister for me, maturation stage. So phase 1, the hair is soft and is coiled into spiral configurations. The coil is smooth and the ends are open. The coil has a shiny or glossy texture when you first started your beginning phase. Your pre-locking stage, the hair begins to interlace and mesh together. Separate units begin to puff and expand in size, and the units are no longer glossy or smooth. Your phase 3, a bulb can be felt at the end of each lock. Interlacing continues. And then your phase 4, the hair begins to regain length, and the lock may still look frizzy, but the hair is also solid in some areas. It's that growing phase, and it's getting to that mature phase. In phase 5, your locks are closed at the ends, it's dense and dull, and it does not reflect any light, and your locks are much longer at this point. So with locking, you have a couple different techniques when you're locking the hair. You have the coil comb technique, you have the palm roll technique when you're doing locking. So the coil comb technique is effective during the early stages of locking while the coil is still open. This method involves placing the comb at the base of the scalp, and with a rotating motion, like a circular motion, you're going to spiral the hair into a coil. The comb will move down until it reaches the end of the hair shaft, and it offers a tight coil and is good on short hair. Then you have the palm roll, which is the method that I use when I'm retwisting locks. It flows better for me. It's more comfortable for me. This method is the gentlest on the hair, and it works through all the natural stages of locking. The palm rolling takes advantage of the hair's natural ability to coil, and this method involves applying gel or a locking product. I use locking gel to it dampens the sections or the subsections, and you want to place the portion of hair between the palms of both your hands, and you want to roll them in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. Whichever the way the lock is going, that's the way you want to palm roll the hair. Then we have braids or extensions, and you have sister locks. Braids or extensions, they are also another effective way to start locking the hair. Some people do put and stick extensions in their hair, fake ones, to start their process. And then as they go along, they'll either take them out or just leave them, or they'll eventually be cut out. That's with adding extensions or doing it with braids. They typically use synthetic hair, or sometimes they'll use human hair. Some people also create their own lock extensions out of human hair, and then they'll get them put into their hair. Then you have sister locks. Sister locks is an interlocking method that usually locks any texture, whether it's straight, relaxed, wavy, curly, or coily, or highly textured, using a special tool to achieve this look. And sister locks are really, really small, like very, very small. If you've ever seen someone with locks and they look super, super micro, those are considered sister locks. So that covers chapter 18 on braiding and braid extensions. So let's just go a little quick review over what we talked about in the chapter. And then after we do that, we'll go over the activity and the homework for you guys to complete. So with natural hairstyling, you're not using any chemicals or dyes, and it does not change or alter the natural curl pattern of a client's hair. It's very popular and has become more popular over time with all ethnicities, and you can appreciate the beauty of braids and braids extensions and how much you can do with them. Braiding is an art, and it can take a lot of hours. I braid my own hair typically, and the last time I braided my own hair, because I did them really, really small, it took me 3 days. It can take a long time, but you want to take care of it with proper care. And if you do that, it can last 3 months. But some people only do it with leave it between like a month or 6 to 8 weeks. I only typically leave my braids in for a month because my hair grows so fast when it's braiding. I have to take it out. Braiding and braid extensions, it's an investment. It's an investment of time, it's an investment of money, and it's high for both the client and the stylist. But after you spend hours braiding a client's hair, the last thing you want is to have the client reject it, and that really sucks because you have to take it all out and do it all over again. And nobody wants to do that. All cosmetologists, you should be prepared to work with every type of hair texture and hairstyle trend. I'm gonna say that again because not a lot of cosmetologists go by this. As a cosmetologist, you should be able to work with any type of hair texture and perform any hairstyle trend. You have to stay on top of it, practice, Google things, YouTube things, see what's popular, see what people are doing, and get it done. You shouldn't have to turn down a client because you don't know how to work with their hair texture. That's not what we do. That's not a cosmetologist. We are well-rounded. That's what makes us great. Working with braid extensions exposes cosmetologists to the fundamental techniques of adding hair extensions, which is another lucrative service for the stylist and the salon. And so that covers pretty much everything about braiding and braid extensions, locks, twist outs, braid outs, coil outs, product usage, taking care of the client's scalp, hair analysis. That covers pretty much everything for that chapter. So for our homework today, I want you to read the chapter, go over it again, answer do the final exam as well. And for our activity, the activity that we're gonna do, that I want you to do, is I want you to set up your mannequin for a dry hairstyle service. You want to section the hair into 4 sections on the head. You want to do 2 in the front and 2 in the back. In one section, we will practice cornrows. In the second section, we will practice doing locks. And in the third section, we'll practice box braiding with no added hair and with adding hair. And then your fourth section, that's your choice on what you want to do. If you want to do some bantu knots, you want to do a coil, you want to do finger coils, comb coils, you want to do braid out, a twist out, that's your choice on what you choose to do. I'm going to give you 35 minutes to start. And if you need more time, I'll give you more time. You're probably going to need more time, but we'll see how it goes as we're going along and doing it together. So that's going to be our activity. It should be fun. It might be a little stressful at the beginning, but take a deep breath. You got this. Braiding allows you to be creative. So have fun with it, play around with it, practice, practice, practice. That makes you perfect. And y'all got this. All right, have a good day.